everyone. My name is Harry Worth.
Mr. Worth?
Yes, Mrs. Maybury, not to worry.
Had a good day?
Well, no, not really. You know, they told me I could earn $2,000 a year selling brushes. But there is a snag.
Oh, what's that?
It costs $3,000 in shoe leather. Well, that looks nice. Very nice indeed.
Thank you.
Yes, and your dress looks nice, too. Is this some sort of celebration?
Yes, it's our anniversary.
Anniversary? Have I been here a year? No, you're mistaken. I'm sure you are. To be precise, it's 6 weeks.
To be precise, Mr. Worth, it's only 3 weeks.
Oh.
Anyway, I was going to say, exactly 35 years ago, something happened.
35 years ago.
1939.
Oh, I remember the year. That was the year my Uncle Ernest won the cucumber contest, yes. Something else happened, too. War broke out. To which of these events are you referring?
Neither. In 1939, Mr. Maybury and I got married.
Oh, really? Congratulations. That's really wonderful. I wish I could have been there. But you know how it is with the cucumber contest and the war. I was busy. Now, you were saying about Mr. Maybury.
Yes. Well, although he died a long time ago, I like to remember those happy years.
With a little celebration, and why not?
Yes, and I'd like you to join me. Will you open the champagne?
Well, I'll certainly open the champagne, yes, but I couldn't intrude on your wedding anniversary.
Oh, Mr. Worth, if you don't, I shall be on my own.
Oh, well, in that case, Mrs. Maybury, I would be delighted. Happy anniversary. Cheers to you and the both of you.
Thank you.
I've been wondering, I've been going to ask you this before. Mrs. Maybury, have you never thought of getting married again?
Well, I wouldn't mind. Only, I don't seem to meet anybody these days. You see, it's difficult for me to meet the right sort of person.
I see.
Will you be my partner?
Mrs. Maybury, you completely misunderstood. I'm not the marrying type.
Oh, no, I meant for this dance. It's the anniversary waltz.
Mrs. Maybury, a pleasure. So you never get the chance to meet anybody?
No, not these days.
No. Tell me, do you come here often?
Mr. Worth?
No, I'm Mr. Worth.
Come in, Mr. Worth. Do sit down.
Thank you.
Now, what has brought you here?
Well, it all started with Mrs. Maybury.
Mrs. Maybury.
Yes, it was her 35th wedding anniversary last night. But you see, later on, Mrs. Maybury and I got to talking about marriage and loneliness.
And you thought you'd come along here and look for a marriage partner?
Mr. Bunting, you are very quick on the uptake.
In my job, I have to be.
Yes, I suppose you meet some very funny people.
Occasionally. Now, a few details. Full name?
Mrs. Edith Maybury.
I mean, your full name.
My full name?
Yes, I mean, you're the one who's here.
Yes, it's true. I'm the one who's here. My name is Harry Worth.
Now, interests and hobbies.
Interesting. You mean with a view to finding a suitable marriage partner?
Well, of course.
Yeah, let me think. There's sewing, knitting.
Sewing, knitting.
And cooking.
And cooking. Any interests outside the home?
No, yes, Woman's Institute.
Mr. Worth, are you quite sure you want me to put this in writing?
Now, you did say it would be confidential.
Yes, of course.
Yes, yes.
Well, I'm afraid it's not going to be too easy. Sewing, knitting, cooking.
And don't forget Women's Institute.
I have to look at a few photographs. Now, is that the sort of person you had in mind?
Yeah? No, I don't think so. This is a woman. Isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I don't think you understand. You see, I'm looking for a man.
You want to marry a man?
Mrs. Maybury wishes to marry a man.
Mrs. Maybury? The woman you celebrated her 35th wedding anniversary with last night?
Yes. She wants another husband.
Another husband? She's only allowed one husband. Two husbands is bigamy.
Even if one of them is dead.
Mr. Maybury is dead.
15 years.
But you told me you were celebrating her 35th wedding anniversary last night.
Yes, but only because I'm living with her.
You and Mrs. Maybury are living together, and you are trying to find her a husband.
That is correct.
Mr. Worth, what is Mrs. Maybury to you?
She is my landlady.
Your landlady, and she's looking for a husband.
Well done, Mr.
Well, if she's looking for a husband, I think I must meet her.
What a jolly good... You would be an ideal choice.
Mr. Worth, what I'm trying to say is that if she wants a husband, she must come here herself.
Mrs. Maybury come here? Impossible. Mrs. Maybury would never come to a place like this.
Well, in that case, I'm afraid I shan't be able to help her.
Oh, please, try and find her a suitable man. I'll take him home to meet Mrs. Maybury and pretend that I met him at work.
All right. Telephone me first thing in the morning and I'll do what I can.
Mr. Bunting, thank you.
One last thing, Mr. Worth. Is there anything more I should know about Mrs. Maybury?
Sewing, knitting, cooking, Women's Institute? I don't think so. By the way, she's very fond of all in wrestling. Mind you, I don't think she'd like to marry one.
What's wrong with all in wrestlers?
Mrs. Maybury, may I use the telephone?
Of course, Mr. Worth.
Yeah, it's about some brushes.
Bunting here.
Mr. Bunting, I came to see you yesterday regarding a suitable marriage partner for Mrs. Maybury.
Is that Mr. Worth?
Yes.
I'm delighted to tell you I think I've found just the man for you. Well, when I say for you, I mean, of course, for Mrs. Maybury. It's a Mr. Arnold Hobbs.
Just one moment. Let me write that down.
I've told him all about your needs, and he'll meet you in the Rose and Crown in Robinson Square. Do you know it?
Yes, I know it. How will I know him?
He'll be wearing a bowler hat and carrying a rolled umbrella.
Good. Tell Mr. Hobbs I will do the same. Goodbye, Mr. Bunting. Yes, it's all right about the brushes. Now, there you are, Mr. Hobbs. One large scotch. Cheers.
Down the hatch.
Bottoms up, if you'll pardon the expression. Now then, I may as well tell you right away, Mr. Hobbs.
Look, call me Arnold.
And why not? After all, it's your name. Now, I may as well tell you right away, whatever Mr. Bunting may have said, I do not wish to marry you.
Well, I'm very glad to hear it.
Yeah. May I ask you a personal question?
Yes?
Are you an all-in wrestler?
No.
Oh, good. It would be no good pretending to Mrs. Maybury that we work together if you were an all-in wrestler. She knows I'm not, you see.
Now, just a moment, Harry. What's all this about us working together?
Well, I couldn't tell Mrs. Maybury that we met through a marriage bureau. I'm going to pretend that we met at work.
Oh, yes, of course, I see. Yes, well, you tell her what you like. Harry, can I ask you a question?
Yes, indeed.
Do you think Mrs. Maybury will like me?
Now that is what we are here to find out. For a few minutes, I am going to be a Mr. Bunting and ask you a few questions. Let me assure you, these questions are confidential. Right, here we go. And the first question is...
Yes?
Have you got a pencil?
Yes.
Good. Full name?
Arnold Hobbs.
Yeah. Interests and hobbies?
Oh, anything and everything.
Oh. What about knitting?
No.
Sewing?
No.
Cooking?
No.
Well, you don't appear to have very much in common. But they do say that opposites make the best partners. Now, there's one question here. I want you to be very careful how you answer it. Do you understand? Are you a member of the Women's Institute?
No.
Good, because we're not that type of agency.
Is there anything else?
Yes. May seem flippant, but are you married?
No.
Good. I'm glad about that, because you see, if you were married and you then married Mrs. Maybury, that would be bigamy. And it's not a very good start to married life.
No, I am not married.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you a question now. You don't have to answer it, but if you don't, I can write it down and use it against you.
All right, what is it?
Tell me why you never married.
Oh, I don't mind telling you that at all. Matter of fact, it was really rather a long time ago, just before the war. There was a girl, you know, and we were going to get married, but, well, I got called up. And then when the war was over and I came back home, well, she'd had a change of heart. As a matter of fact, she'd married my best friend. Oh, they're very happy. They've got 3 children, and I see them occasionally.
Did you never meet anyone else?
No. So I never really had the chance because I had a sick mother in Wolverhampton I had to look after, and...
No, Arnold, don't go on. I can tell it's hurting you to tell me.
Thank you.
Just one more question, I'm sorry. Do you have clean habits? Well, Mrs. Maybury is very fussy. You see, she had a hamster. And this hamster
I
used
think
to...
that my habits are slightly cleaner than a hamster's.
I think you'll do fine. I'll take you home now to meet Mrs. Maybury.
Very well. On the way, you can tell me a little about Mrs. Maybury, if you will.
Well, to start with, she's a woman.
Another cup of coffee, Mr. Hobbs?
Oh, please, Mrs. Maybury, call me Arnold. And may I call you Ethel?
You may, but in fact, my name is Edith.
I'm so sorry, but Harry told me it was Ethel.
Mr. Worth does his best.
Thank you.
What a pleasant family evening this is.
Are you married, Arnold?
Perhaps I could interrupt there. I've asked Arnold a few questions about that, and I've written the answers down here. But I promise you that they are confidential, so I'll tell you what the answers are. Now, it's quite obvious from the start you'll have to do your own knitting, sewing, and cooking. And when you want to go to the Women's Institute, you'll have to go on your own because Arnold is not a member. Now, I've told him about the hamster, and he assures me he is much cleaner about the house.
Mr. Worth, I only asked Arnold if he was married.
Oh, yeah, let me assure you, it's a very sad story. I hope you won't mind me telling it. You see, Arnold, there was a young lady, it was just before the war. They were going to get married, war broke out. He didn't think it was the right time. So they didn't, and he went off to fight for his country. And he came home, and this girl had married another man. She was that type of woman. She's married now, she's got a few kids. They see one another occasionally, and she ignores him, and he's glad about that. Of course, he could have got married later. He could. But he has a sick mother, and she's sick of Wolverhampton. I think that, well, that takes care of it, doesn't it?
Loosely, yes.
Yes. He told me all about this at work.
Oh, so you and Arnold work together?
Yes.
Are you a brush salesman too, Arnold?
Gracious, no.
No, nor am I. Stopped selling brushes a long time ago.
It can't have been that long ago. You were selling brushes last week.
Well, when I say a long time, I mean since I stopped selling brushes.
When was that?
Yesterday.
What do you do in your new job?
Yes. Well, the same as Arnold. What do we do, Arnold?
We are business executives.
Are we really? Yes, we're business executives.
How very interesting.
Well, it's better than selling brushes.
No, it really is very interesting.
Very.
Look, I've had an idea. Why don't you come and have lunch with me at the office tomorrow?
Oh, thank you, Arnold. I'd be delighted.
Good, then that's settled. Marvellous. Now, I'm afraid I must be off, Edith. I've had a most delightful evening. Thank you so much.
So glad to have met you.
Oh, it's been an equal pleasure for me, believe me.
That wasn't a very bright idea to invite her for lunch. She'll find out I don't work there.
It was your idea to suggest you did.
But don't you understand? If she comes to the office, she'll expect to see me. There's only one thing for it. You'll have to find me a job there.
It's not going to be easy. I mean, most of our chaps are on short time as it is.
That's perfect. I only want it for a short time. Lunch will do.
Come along tomorrow. See the personnel manager, 12 noon.
Oh,
Right?
Arnold, it's very kind of you. Good night. Yes, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Arnold. Thank you.
Well, look, Arnold, I can fix him up with a job as a cleaner. Is that all right? Only I thought I'd better check with you first, because they're just sending him up from reception. Come in. All right, Arnold, leave it with me. Is your name Worth?
Yes, they told me to come to room 27. It's about a job.
That's right. Personnel manager.
Really? My word, that sounds rather cushy.
Maybe it does, but it's not without its problems.
Now, you better tell me something, because I have no idea. Exactly what does a personnel officer do?
Well, apart from answering a lot of stupid questions, he's responsible for the hiring and firing of people.
My word, that is a responsibility.
Yes, it is. Now, you wait here and I'll draw you some equipment from the stores.
Personnel manager, yes. Personnel manager speaking. I see. And did you want to be hired or fired? Well, if you're the general manager, I should stick to the job you've got. Sounds even cussier than the one they've given me. Do come in.
Excuse me, Mr. Worth, is this a surprise?
Mrs. Maybury.
Personnel manager?
Yes, isn't it marvellous?
It's most exciting. You must tell me all about it over supper. Now, where will I find Arnold?
Arnold, yes, that's a good question. You'd think I'd know the answer to that one, wouldn't you? Ah, here's a gentleman here who can help us. Could you tell us where this lady could find Mr. Holmes?
In his office, room 31.
Thank you. See you later, Mr. Worth.
Yes, bye, Mrs. Maybury.
What are you doing behind that desk?
Well, I'm just getting the feel of things.
Well, come round here and get the feel of this. Put this coat on.
On?
On! Now listen. You start at ground level and you do all the stairs and corridors up to the 14th floor. Then you start at the bottom again.
Is this part of the job?
That is the job.
What about the stupid questions?
Don't ask any. Now listen. Your soap's in your bucket and you draw your water from the men's cloakroom. Now off you go.
Just before I start,
Yes?
could I have my cards? Hello, Arnold.
Good evening.
Don't forget to wipe your feet.
Hello, Edith.
Hello, Arnold. Had a good day?
Oh, fast and furious as usual, you know. Do you mind if I pour myself a little drink?
Of course not.
Would you like one as well?
Not for the moment, thank you, Arnold.
Harry?
Yes, not for me, thank you.
Harry, would you mind eating out tonight?
Again? I've been out every night for the past 2 weeks. There's only the Chinese restaurant. I've eaten so many... Have you noticed my eyes are beginning to slant?
Harry, the point is, I want to propose.
Propose? What?
I want to ask Edith to marry me.
Say no more, Arnold. In the interest of Mrs. Maybury's future happiness, I shall be content to consume yet another bowl of Chinese nosh. If you'll excuse me. Ding-a-ding-a-ding-ding-ding-ding.
Mr. Worth, I've got some news, and I want you to be the first to know.
Oh, I wonder what it is.
Arnold has asked me to marry him.
Good, I was the first to know.
He's such a kind, warm-hearted man, and I want to thank you very much for bringing us together.
Well, congratulations, Mrs. Maybury. I hope you'll be very happy. May I?
Of course. Now, come along and have your supper.
What is it, cheese and onion pie?
No, chicken chow mein.
Oh, dear me, what a day.
Hello, Harry. I haven't seen you for ages. What are you up to these days?
Oh, I've gone back to my old job, not selling brushes.
Harry,
Yes?
that is my chair.
It's very comfortable. I thought it was Mrs. Maybury's chair.
Now, Harry, don't make yourself too comfortable, because when Edith and I get married, I'm afraid you will have to find somewhere else to live.
Eh?
Mind you, I will never forget that it was you who introduced me to Mrs. Maybury.
Yes, she is rather nice, isn't she?
Oh, she's very nice. What I really like about her is that she's got plenty of,
You mean, money?
Yeah, well, why else do you think I'm marrying her?
Well, she can't have that much money, else she wouldn't have taken me in as a lodger.
But you led me to believe that her husband left her quite a bit.
Yes, a bit.
No, a lot.
A bit.
Are you telling me that she hasn't got any money?
Not a bit.
What, this puts an entirely different complexion on the whole thing.
Pardon?
Well, I mean, you can't expect me to marry a woman who hasn't got any money. Huh, you've been having me on. I'm getting out of this.
Wait a minute, because I don't understand. Mrs. Maybury wants to get married, and I assumed you wanted to get married.
Harry, why do you suppose I have never got married before?
Well, I thought it was that girl before the war and your sickening mother in Wolverhampton.
There was no girl before the war, and I do not have a sickening mother in Wolverhampton.
Arnold, you've been deceiving me, and in turn I've been deceiving Mrs. Maybury, pretending we work together, not allowing her to know I met you at a marriage bureau. And what about all those Chinese meals?
Well, I can't help that. I'm off.
Arnold, wait. What will I tell Mrs. Maybury?
You'll think of something. Goodbye, Harry.
Arnold, at least. Leave her a little note.
You leave her a little note. There's a pencil. Goodbye.
No, Arnold.
Hello, Mr. Worth. I'm home.
Hello, Mrs. Maybury. I have a letter for you.
Oh, yes?
Yes.
Who from?
Well, it's from Arnold. You see, he's had to go to Australia. It's his sick mother.
But I thought his mother lived in Wolverhampton.
Oh, yeah, Wolverhampton, New South Wales. Anyway, he told me to give you that letter.
Oh, what a lovely letter. Mr. Worth, I'd like you to read it.
Oh, I couldn't. It's too personal.
I don't mind. Only a real gentleman could have written a letter like this. Do read it.
Dear Edith, unfortunately.
Bit louder.
Yeah. Dear Edith, unfortunately, I have unexpectedly gone to Australia. But I love you, and I will always love you till the end of my days. In fact, I will love you all the more because you're far away. With all my love, Harry.